Yes, I'm going to read from chapter 8, The Real Deal, from my book, The Everlasting Gospel of Jesus. It's available on Kindle Unlimited in English, Spanish, and French to read for free. It's soon to be available in Portuguese and Urdu for those in Pakistan. Then Judas, who had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. Matthew 27:3. After the chief priests apprehended Jesus, Jesus tried to return the money they gave him to betray him. He threw down the silver and went and hanged himself. The chief priests took the silver and bought the potter's field to bury strangers, calling it the field of blood. This fulfilled the prophecy of Zechariah. They took the 30 pieces of silver that they valued me and bought the potter's field as the Lord appointed me. It is so wonderful to serve a living God. We do not have to wonder or guess what the living God wants because he's alive and he speaks to us. The Bible is not the only way we hear from God. God speaks to us. We have the Bible because God spoke to those who wrote it. There would be no Bible if God did not speak. Jesus Christ never changes, so he never stops speaking. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. A pastor I know was telling me about all the things that God had told him and what God had told him to do. He started talking about himself, what he is and what he is not. When I left him for a few minutes, God spoke to me and said he could not stand people like that pastor. God told me everything the pastor said he was not. And all the things that he said he was not, he was. God said he did not talk to that pastor anymore and had not talked to him for a long time. I had to think about what God said about that pastor. I was imagining what it would be like if God quit talking to me. I was terrified that that would be the worst thing that could happen to me. Judas was in the most marvelous place. Jesus, the real deal, picked 12 people to be his disciples. Of all the people in the world, he only picked 12, and Judas was one of them. Jesus was the real deal, and he chose Judas. Many people only play church. They have their own personal purposes for going to church, but Jesus is the real deal, and we need to have a real deal with the real deal. There is nothing fake about him, and there should not be anything fake about our relationship with him. The covenant we have with him is real. Judas was there all the time, listening to Jesus pouring out the words of life. The prophets desired to hear what Judas heard from the mouth of Jesus, but they could not. The angels wanted to look into the salvation that Jesus came to offer, and they could not. But this group of 12 men had the opportunity to hear the secrets that had been hidden from the foundation of the world. They were the only ones who could. Nobody else had that opportunity. Judas saw Jesus cast out devils, raise the dead, and feed multitudes with a child's lunch. He saw Jesus pray, and God answered. Jesus sent out the 12 disciples, and they healed the sick and cast out devils. Judas healed the sick and cast out devils. Judas was there when Jesus rejoiced at the report that even the demons were subject to them. Judas had a real deal with the real deal. Judas walked with Jesus for 3 years and gained a position of honor with him. He carried the bag of money. Jesus and his 12 disciples walked together, but Judas was the only one who carried the money. Judas carried all the money that was given to Jesus. Imagine being that close to Jesus. Jesus knew who Judas was. He said, I have chosen 12 of you, and one of you is a devil. Just one. And Jesus knew which one he was. And Jesus still picked him. He still used him. He still allowed him to get that close to him. Jesus is just that great. The only reason any of us are saved today is that Jesus is worthy. Nothing you have done, nothing you deserve, nothing you have, and nothing you are would have made him save you. He is so worthy that he saved you. It all comes from Jesus. He was there for Judas, even though he was a devil. It was about time for Jesus to be crucified, and Judas was a powerful force in Jesus' kingdom. Jesus had to stop Judas because Judas was powerful. 6 days before the Passover, Martha made dinner, and Lazarus sat at the table with Jesus. Mary anointed Jesus' feet with a pound of costly spikenard and her hair. The room was filled with the aroma of the ointment. Judas said, why was this ointment not sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? Pay attention to details in the Bible. That helps you build an understanding of the Bible. You will not understand it if you fail to pay attention to the details. The Bible is not just a story that you read. There are finer points that bring it into perspective. You pick out details, and it opens your understanding. This happened 6 days before the Passover. Jesus was at Lazarus' house. We know what day it was, and we know where it was. Martha was cooking. This is Martha, who complained to Jesus that Mary was sitting at Jesus' feet, listening to his teaching and not helping her cook. That Martha. They were both Lazarus' sisters. While Martha was cooking, Mary came in with a pound of spikenard. It was very rare. No one would think that you would find spikenard. It was very rare. No one would think that you would find spikenard anywhere in Bethany, but Mary had it. She poured it on Jesus' feet. They were in Bethany at Lazarus' house. When was it? 6 days before the Passover. It was not 4 days before the Passover. It was not 8 days before the Passover. It was 6 days before the Passover. Someone was complaining. Who was complaining? Judas. He was making a statement. This perfume is very expensive and it should have been sold. Judas wanted to sell the perfume so they would put all the money in his bag. We do not know how much money was in the bag, but it certainly was not as much as that perfume was worth.